So you want to live a life of freedom. You want to quit pornography. You want to reset your brain and your body. So don't you have to give up all things sexual to do that? Is it still okay to be sexually active with your spouse if you're trying to quit porn? That's the topic we're going to tackle in today's episode. And I think you might be pleasantly surprised by the answer. I'm your host, Sathiya Sam. Welcome to the Man Within podcast. I've dedicated the last 7 years of my life to helping men like you quit pornography, walk with freedom, integrity, and purpose. And I'm really excited to help you do that today in the time that we have together. Now, today's episode is inspired by somebody in our one-on-one coaching program, Deep Clean Signature. I'm not going to name names, but if you're listening, you probably know who you are. This guy just asked a phenomenal question, and I thought, man, this was too good to not share with our larger audiences. And so I'm really excited to bring this to you today. And the question was really just simple. You know, this guy has been clean of pornography for, I think it's since September he's been clean of pornography. He's doing really well. He has noticed that he is experiencing a huge spike in his libido and wanting to be intimate with his wife, which is really cool. He's more present with his kids. I mean, he's had just a really cool transformation. It's actually been amazing. But the one thing that he said is, one thing I need to add is part of his story is same-sex attraction. And so it's a really big deal for him to be experiencing that libido and that sexual draw towards his wife. But while he has been experiencing that increased attraction, and while he has been clean of pornography, he has not been engaging in sex very much. And so we have to kind of dive in there, because is the same-sex attraction interfering, or is he kind of just suppressing all things sexual? And with again, some good question asking, what like a good coach does, we eventually uncovered that he actually has some performance anxiety. And so this was more about, I don't want to start getting intimate again and then not have the experience that I'm hoping for, not meet expectations, and then downward spiral and be more prone to slipping and relapsing. And it was interesting because as he shared, this was on a group call, a bunch of the other guys were like, dude, me too. Dude, I've gone through that. One guy in particular was kind of pouring his heart out in the chat. And so that's when I realized, okay, I think I need to share this with my audience as well. So this dovetailed into a bigger question, which is, is it actually good to not have sex while you're trying to quit pornography? And so we kind of have two questions at play here, and I'm going to answer both of them. Actually, I'm going to answer both of them, but I'm going to go in reverse order. So some therapists, some CSATs, some coaches, some specialists will tell you that for the first 90 days, you start working with them, you draw a line in the sand, and for the first 90 days, no orgasm at all, right? PMO, that's like the thing that people talk about. So no porn, no masturbation, no orgasm, which includes with your spouse. And I'm going to be honest, in my insecurity, when I first heard people talking about this, I thought, oh man, should I be doing that with my clients? Like I was really confused because I didn't know that was a thing. Just being honest, it wasn't part of my own story, and I hadn't really heard people talk about it. And then rubbing shoulders with these professionals, they're talking about it, and I kind of bounced it off some of my mentors at the time, people that I was just gleaning from and learning from. One guy was named Jeff Stewart, who actually interviewed on this podcast a couple of times. And I think I asked him about it actually in one of the interviews. He said something really interesting. He said, if the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety and it's connection, isn't it weird that we would deprive ourselves of the most valuable human connection we have in our lives when we're trying to quit one of the worst addictions in the world? And that really stuck with me. I thought, man, that's such a good point. I instinctively kind of knew, like, I didn't agree with, like, not being intimate with your partner while you quit porn, but I didn't quite have the reasoning, and he just connected some powerful dots for me. So that's where I want to start is, look, if you are trying to quit pornography, connecting with your wife on an intimate level is one of the best things you could do. Now, I will just say, if you are having sex and you're observing that, you're fantasizing about somebody else, you're not really present, or if you can tell that you're kind of just using her and it's not really a healthy sexual interaction, then we might need to have a conversation about taking a little bit of a break. But I'll tell you, for the guys in our program, that's generally not the case for them. These guys are pure-hearted, they're high integrity, they're not really using sex that way, And if they've struggled with fantasies, it's something that they learn very early on in the course, because pillar number one of the deep clean method is building self-awareness. So they learn this self-awareness, they build the emotional intelligence and the emotional capacity very early on. And so they're able to connect really actually in a very powerful and healthy way sexually with their spouses as a result. So I would just have to say up front that I don't believe you need to quit sex to quit pornography, and I would say it's quite the opposite. Now, as a Bible-believing man, I want to be specific. This is in the context of marriage, okay? Now, if you're outside of marriage, I fully believe that if you want to live rightly before the Lord by quitting pornography, you also need to live rightly before the Lord by not fornicating and not having sex outside of marriage. And so I think in that case, PMO is the avenue that you're going to take before you get married, until you get married. But if you're married, by all means, I think sexual intimacy can be really healthy and actually really healing. It can be part of your healing journey in a really cool and really powerful way. Now, to the people that are experiencing performance anxiety, and maybe that's why you're not engaging sexually, because you know that can start a downward spiral that will lead you to worse decision making with pornography or fantasy or whatever it might be. Here's what I want to say to you. What are you really afraid of? This is the same question that I asked the client. What are you actually afraid of? And, he starts talking about it. And I said, okay, that's great. Now, have you thought about how good it could go? And he said, well, no, I didn't. So I said, well, what if you did this? What if you told your spouse, hey, I'm having some of these concerns. I'm having some of these insecurities about us being intimate. And I know they're probably not even really true, but I wanted to just be candid with you. And I'm wondering if when we start to be intimate again, if you can just help me ease into this a little bit more. Now, here's what this is going to do. Number one, it's going to take all the pressure off, because you got everything out in the open, and now you guys can just be intimate for the sake of connecting. There's no mind games. There's no guesswork on her part. She understands what's going on, and you guys can really do this thing together. But number two, what you will find is in the process of opening up, that emotional connection is going to make for greater sexual intimacy, and you're much likely to have a better experience that you're actually going to really enjoy and want more of in the future. And so I want to leave you guys with the same thing. If you're dealing with that performance anxiety, you need to talk about it. Talk to your spouse about it. She wants to hear about it. And you might say, no, she's going to judge me. She's going to, no, she's not. If you tell her, look, I really want to be intimate with you. I'm just struggling with some performance anxiety, and I wanted you to know that. Can you help me? I am telling you, that will melt your wife's heart. She will be so happy, and she will be willing to show you the grace and the mercy and everything else that you need. Now, one thing that I did recommend to my client, and I don't mind recommending it to you guys here either, is a thing called Sensate Touch. Now, this is something that Eddie Caparucci, who's kind of, he's one of the deep clean mentors here, and he certifies all of our coaches. So if he recommends something, we take it seriously. This is something that Eddie recommends. You can just Google Sensate Touch or Sensate connectivity, and there you'll get a couple different resources there. They're all pretty similar. It's a great way to start building that comfortability with each other's bodies in sort of first a non-sexual way and then a more sexual way. And so if you're reintroducing sex or you're dealing with that performance anxiety, anything along those lines, that's another great way to really get intimacy rekindled in a very healthy way, and in a way that's actually still very intimate and really enjoyable. And it's a good way to reprogram your mind to experience sex with your spouse in a way that is purely just about intimacy and not about the things that porn brain would go after. So if that's something you're interested in, I highly recommend you check that out. Guys, hopefully this was clarifying for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am cheering every single one of you on, and just praying that you guys continue to walk in deeper levels of freedom. If this content blessed you, make sure that you share it with somebody that means something to you. Especially share it with a spouse if maybe you want them to hear this perspective and just understand things a little bit better. I think they might really appreciate it, and maybe this will give them some of the words that you're having a hard time coming up with. So make sure you share this as well. God bless you. I'll see you in the next one.